This morning, you woke up because a small piece of glass on your nightstand made a noise at you. Not a predator moving in the grass, not hunger, not the sun coming up. A notification. Then you made yourself some coffee. You didn't grow the beans that went into it. You didn't pick them either. You didn't roast them. You have never seen one growing. You pressed a single button on a machine that somebody else designed and built for you. Then you sat down inside a car and put your hands on a wheel. And a few hundred horsepower carried your entire body somewhere else while you sat still. Then you sat at a desk for something like 8 hours, in one chair. And in all that time, you moved almost nothing except the ends of your fingers. Then you went home. And once you got there, you sat down all over again. The average American now spends somewhere around 9 hours of every day sitting down. And look, that isn't a criticism of you. Nobody watching this is judging anybody. That's just what a completely normal Tuesday looks like for most people now. Now here is that exact same morning lived out 300,000 years ago. Same species as you. The same basic kind of brain. Almost all the same genetic inheritance. You wake up hungry. And not the way you mean when you skip breakfast. You have had almost nothing to eat for 2 full days in a row. There is no kitchen. There is no store. Nobody on earth is bringing you food. Everything you own, you carry yourself on your own back every single day of your life. Some of your most important tools began with you hitting one rock against another until an edge appeared. Then halfway through the morning, you open your foot up on a rock you never saw. There is no bandage, there is no antibiotic, and there is absolutely no sitting this one out. And at night, every sound matters because some of the things outside hunt in the dark. So put you and him in an empty field, 20 feet apart with nothing in either person's hands. Who walks away? Before we start swinging at anybody, we need to be honest about what you're bringing. Genuinely honest, not polite. And I'll warn you now, it isn't going to be flattering. First, one rule. Nobody in this comparison is a professional fighter. We are comparing broadly typical adult men of similar age using averages drawn from their populations. Change their size, health, training, or luck, and every result can change with them. Because you are not fighting one single ancient human here today. You're facing 3 of them, back to back, in order, with no rest in between. First, a farmer from the very early days of agriculture. Second, a hunter-gatherer from long before anybody on Earth had planted anything. And third, something that technically is not even the same species as you are. Based on the physical evidence, I would give you the advantage in only one of them, and stick around because the reason has much less to do with muscle than most people would guess. So let's start with your bones. Not the outside of them, the inside. There is a honeycomb structure running through the inside called trabecular bone. Think of it as internal scaffolding, holding the whole structure up from within. In many recent humans, that structure is lighter and more open than it was in highly mobile people who came before us. Theirs was often denser, same living tissue, shaped by a very different amount of daily loading. And here's the genuinely strange part about that whole picture. Across much of human evolution, skeletal robusticity remained remarkably high. Then, during the last several thousand years, it declined as populations became less mobile. The change did not happen everywhere at exactly the same time or speed. But 10,000 years is still very short in evolutionary terms. Movement appears to be a major part of the explanation. Bone is not some fixed thing you get issued at birth. Load it hard and it thickens up. Leave it alone, and it quietly thins back out. And the thing about bone is that it listens hardest while you are still young. Their childhood was climbing, carrying heavy things, running long distances, and falling over. Yours was mostly a chair and a screen. Those 2 childhoods built 2 different skeletons. And it may not be only your bones either. Some modern studies have also measured falling grip strength across recent generations. That does not describe every country or every person, but it fits the larger pattern of bodies doing less physical work. So just to be completely clear about this, it is not only about muscle. You might have plenty of muscle. You might be in the gym 4 days a week. This is also about the frame that all of that muscle is bolted onto. Lifting can strengthen adult bone, but it cannot fully recreate a skeleton shaped by heavy loading throughout childhood. Okay, so that's what you're bringing to the field. Let's find out what it's worth. Round 1. A farmer from an early European farming community, roughly 5,000 years ago. We are choosing a specific kind of farmer because agriculture did not affect every population in the same way. And the very first thing you notice standing next to him is that you're taller. And not just barely either. In some early European farming populations, the difference averaged close to 3 or 4 inches because farming did something to the human body that nobody at the time saw coming. It allowed far more people to live from the same area of land. But in many places, it also narrowed diets and increased exposure to disease and nutritional stress. A hunter-gatherer might eat dozens of different foods across a single season. Many early farmers depended heavily on a small number of crops, especially grain. Day after day, season after season, that dependence left marks on growing bodies, and you can actually see the result in the skeletons that they left behind. Average human height fell after the switch to farming, measurably across whole regions. Then, it stayed down there, not for one generation, for several thousand years. He may also have more cavities than the foragers who lived before him. Some hunter-gatherers had terrible teeth too, so agriculture did not invent tooth decay. But grain-heavy diets often gave oral bacteria a dependable supply of fermentable carbohydrates. His daily work is physical: planting, grinding, lifting, carrying, and repeating the same movements for years. That labor can produce a strong body. It can also leave accumulated wear in particular joints and bones. So here's round one. You're taller than him, you're heavier than him, and you probably grew up with more reliable nutrition and medical protection than he ever had. On paper, I would give you the advantage in this round. Not a guaranteed victory. He works far harder than most modern people do, but your likely advantage in height, body mass, and childhood nutrition matters in a close fight. And I know exactly what you're thinking right now, because I thought it too. That felt surprisingly favorable. And there is a reason for it. Here's the thing that almost everybody gets wrong about ancient people, myself included. We picture one guy, but ancient covers 300,000 years of wildly different bodies. Quick thing before round two. If you're enjoying this kind of evidence-driven thought experiment, like the video, share it, and subscribe to Vic Explains. It helps other curious people find the channel. Now, back to the field, because the next opponent removes your easiest advantage. Round 2. Now, wind the clock back further. Past farming completely. This is a man who lives on nothing except what he can catch and find. And here is what surprises people the most about him. He does not look like a monster. He's about your height. He isn't especially broad. Nothing about him looks unusual. Put him in normal clothes on a normal street and you would walk straight past him. The entire difference between the two of you sits underneath the skin where you can't see it. In highly mobile foraging populations, the spongy bone around major joints was often denser than it is in less active populations. Their long bones could also be more robust, reflecting years of walking, running, carrying, climbing, and repeated loading. That does not make every hunter-gatherer unbreakable. It tells us that his skeleton adapted to a lifetime of movement, especially while he was growing. And here's the important part. He did not begin building that frame in his 20s. Childhood and adolescence are major construction years for bone. His normal day kept sending the same message to his growing skeleton. Build for movement, build for impact, build for tomorrow. And this is the part I actually want you to sit with for a second. You can still change your body now. Training can strengthen muscle, improve balance, and increase bone density. But it is much harder to recreate the exact frame produced by a highly active childhood after those growing years are gone. So what actually happens when the two of you finally go at each other? You are not necessarily fighting a man with larger muscles. That is not the main problem. You are facing someone whose balance, endurance, movement, and physical confidence were tested every day. His hands have spent years gripping, carrying, cutting, climbing, and controlling awkward weight. His feet know uneven ground. His body knows how to keep working while hungry, cold, or tired. Bones cannot tell us his exact grip strength. They cannot replay a fight. But they do show a body shaped by much more movement than most modern lives demand. If the two of you are similar in size and neither has combat training, I would give him the advantage. Not because every hunter-gatherer was a superhuman, because the ordinary requirements of his life trained qualities that your ordinary life may never test. One favorable round, one unfavorable round, and now the comparison becomes much stranger. But here's the part that should genuinely bother you a little. Same species. Broadly, the same human potential. The same kind of brain sitting inside the same kind of skull. He is not some other kind of human being. He is not a separate branch. He is what you would have been if you'd been born into a life that demanded it. Round 3. And this one is genuinely, properly different from the first two. Because now, for the first time, we leave your species behind entirely. This is a Neanderthal, a separate human lineage and one of our closest evolutionary relatives. Neanderthals lived alongside Homo sapiens for thousands of years. The two groups also had children together. Many living people still carry a small amount of Neanderthal ancestry, and the first surprise here is exactly the same as it was last round. You are probably taller than he is. By modern standards, he's a short guy. But turn the two of them around to face you, and the picture changes instantly. He is built like a barrel. Everything about him is wide, deep, and compact. A broad torso, shorter, lower limbs, thick, robust bones. Researchers connect that body shape to cold climates, high physical demands, and a different pattern of growth. It was not armor, but it was a powerful frame. And there is one detail in his skeleton that says more about his life than anything. Several Neanderthal skeletons show pronounced differences between the right and left upper arms. Same individual, two differently loaded arms. That repeated imbalance needs an explanation. For years, the assumption was that this came from thrusting spears at close range. And it's a fantastic story. Wrestles a mammoth, comes home with one enormous arm. Researchers eventually modeled the motions to see which activities could produce that pattern. In one influential study, spear thrusting did not fit as well as expected. Forceful hide scraping did fit. One hand controlling the hide, the other repeatedly driving the tool. One arm, one direction. A similar motion repeated over years, which is obviously a far less exciting answer than fighting a mammoth. But it is a plausible explanation, not a label written directly on the bone. There is another famous claim we should clear away before the fight begins. You may have heard that Neanderthal injuries looked like those of professional rodeo riders. That comparison came from real research in the 1990s, which is one reason it spread so widely. Later work used larger comparisons and found something less dramatic. Neanderthal head injuries were not clearly more common than injuries among Homo sapiens living in the same Ice Age world. Neanderthals had hard lives. So did the modern humans around them. All right, the actual fight. His compact body gives him a lower center of mass. His broad joints and robust limbs suggest a body comfortable with heavy physical loading. Those traits could matter enormously in a close grapple. But a skeleton cannot tell us whether he was trained to fight, how fast he reacted, or what either of you would do under pressure. So the honest answer is not that defeat is guaranteed. It is that between two similarly aged, untrained adults, I would give the Neanderthal the physical advantage at close range. One likely advantage for you. Two likely advantages for them. That is the answer to the question sitting in the title of this video, and it's the answer that basically everybody expects before they even click. Which is exactly why it should make you a little bit suspicious, because there is a serious problem sitting in the middle of this entire video, and it has been there since the first 60 seconds, buried in the setup. We assumed, without ever once saying it out loud, that this fight stays up close. Most primate fights happen at close range, grabbing, biting, wrestling, hitting. Humans can fight that way too. But our species also became unusually effective at creating distance, because we can combine throwing speed and accuracy in a way no other living primate can match. And I don't think most people realize how genuinely strange that actually is. A trained baseball pitcher can send a ball past 90 miles an hour. Reported chimpanzee throws are dramatically slower, often around 20 miles an hour. That matters because the old claim that chimpanzees are 5 times stronger than humans is wrong too. Experimental work suggests their muscle can produce roughly 1/3 more maximum dynamic force and power, pound for pound, often rounded to about 1.5 times. Real, but nothing like the cartoon version. Part of that difference appears to come from muscle fiber properties that favor explosive power. And here's the part that matters. It isn't muscle making that difference happen. When you cock your arm back, your shoulder stretches its tendons like a slingshot. They store elastic energy in them the whole time you are winding up. Then they release all of it at once, far faster than muscle alone ever could. Your shoulder can behave like a catapult. A chimpanzee's shoulder is arranged differently. It comes down to the shape of the joint, not the strength wrapped around it. Some researchers argue that the key combination of human throwing features appears together in Homo erectus, roughly 2 million years ago. That timing overlaps with major changes in hunting and access to large animal resources. And now the question in the title looks different. If you force the encounter into an unarmed, close-range contest, the highly mobile hunter and the Neanderthal probably hold physical advantages. But that is an artificial fight. Real humans use distance. They use objects. They cooperate. They change the problem before strength decides it. The farmer could throw. The hunter-gatherer could throw. Neanderthals were capable of throwing too, although nobody can measure their exact speed from a skeleton. So if you really put yourself and a hunter-gatherer in a field with no rules, the honest outcome may not resemble a wrestling match at all. One of you reaches for a rock. The other immediately understands what that means. And suddenly the empty distance between you matters more than the muscle on either body. So your body is not simply a broken version of an ancient human. Modern life may have reduced some of the loading, endurance, and physical skill that earlier lives demanded. But the deeper human advantage was never just brute strength. It was the ability to use an object, create distance, recruit other people, and rewrite the contest. The strongest body in the clearing was dangerous. The mind that found a way to avoid the clearing was more dangerous still. If that hunter is what your body might have become under a different childhood, what did modern life give you? And what did it quietly take away? And if you could trade modern comfort for ancient durability, would you actually do it?